Hi, I am here with Jen Rizzo. Hi, Jen.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Since we're talking about brick and mortars, I asked Jen to talk to us because she actually is the owner of a brick and mortar store,
Mhm.
and she definitely is a handmade boss. Um, the name of her shop is The Collective, LAT, and you are located in which city in Illinois?
We're in Lisle, Illinois, right next door to Naperville.
Yes. Okay. And Jen has evolved to this, just like many handmade business owners have evolved. So she has worn many hats over the years. And why don't you start out by telling us how you came to the point of having, this is your first or second anniversary that you're celebrating?
We're at a year and a half, so we'll be coming up to our second in August. Yeah.
Okay, great. That is good. So why don't you tell us how this got started?
So I have to go way back to almost 12 years ago when I started blogging, when blogging was a new thing. And that kind of led me into finding my creative side, eventually calling myself an artist,
Yeah.
and starting to create handmade things at home, discovering Etsy. From the discovery of Etsy, I was found by boutiques. I started doing shows. I started wholesaling to boutiques. I started getting more into making things, making out of my house, working with brands like Michaels and DecoArt and Cricut. And it all just kind of snowballed to the point where I got to the point where I knew to grow my business, I really needed to get out of my house. I needed to take it past the kitchen table. And I had a friend of mine named Autumn, who's my co-owner, and what I call my partner in creativity. And we were both local moms, and she has a big heart for women as well, and a very creative side, and a great background in event planning and public speaking. And we just knew we wanted to create a space. So about 3 years ago, I started looking for places in my downtown. Now, my downtown is next to a very big city called Naperville, if anyone's familiar with it.
Yep.
And we're kind of forgotten. We're this little one street town where everyone kind of overlooks us. They're like, we didn't even know you had a downtown. And I had always said if I had a space, I wanted to open it in my town to help enrich my town and bring something to the town. As I say town 50 times. And my husband and I looked at various spaces. We looked at a Pilates studio. We looked at a bank, and nothing came up. And then 2 summers ago, and I knew I wanted to do a retail store boutique that had handmade goods and supported local artists, and also had a makery in it where I could teach classes because I've been teaching actually as long as I've been selling. So as you know, I've been teaching e-courses. I go out of town and teach. I speak. So that I had a heart for that as well. So about 2 years ago, a friend and I were walking downtown. We had lunch at a little creperie that's still there. Luckily, it's amazing. And our downtown's just going through all this renovation process. And I came across the space and I said, I got these weird chills in my stomach. And I'm like, I think this is it. So I called on it. We toured it. My husband and I looked at it. And I had remembered Autumn had said to me, hey, if you ever decide to do anything, let me know. So I'm like, this is like the perfect opportunity. So I called her and I said, hey, I found this space. This is what I want to do. You know, how do you feel about this? And she was like, I've always had a heart for women. You know, I love creativity. You know, she's with the event plan, we're like, let's do it. So we both kind of jumped in, 2 feet in. And with that, we've had so many opportunities come up, and we've really seen now at the same time they're building this major building. So there's been this reinvigoration and like just changing our downtown and bringing it into like a whole new life.
Isn't that awesome?
That's amazing to see happen.
Yeah, I am familiar with Lisle because my sister-in-law used to live there.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I am familiar. And I find it interesting. It seems like your shop has probably been a little spark to the community, the business community there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's huge.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I mean, there's some restaurants that were there, and there's a great clothing store. But definitely when we came in, one thing we did that had not been in place for a long time was a downtown retail and business association. And feeling like we wanted to create a way for, Autumn and I wanted to create a way for these businesses to come together. So we started like a Facebook page. And then it was a lot of running up and down the street dragging some of the businesses into like, hey, this is what we want to do, because, you know, they had kind of been through this in different incarnations.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of the businesses that had been here a long time had tried that, and then it kind of died off and tried it. So they put forth good effort. It was just a different time.
Yes.
So it's kind of our time to take over. We were fresh blood. We were enthusiastic. This is like our life savings. So this was like make it or break it. We were both putting a lot at stake. So we spent the time running up and down the block being like, hey, we want to do this. So we did our first event, which was called Moms on Main. And we basically got about 20 of the downtown businesses to do where we all had an event at the same night. It was a huge success. Since then, we've brought other events up, which is a few times during the year. Now we're kind of hooked up with the chamber so that we can also run bigger events downtown and really impact the business community down here, because it's been so sleepy and quiet for a while. And the thing is, it's really, I don't want to say sleepy and quiet, because it's really like this hidden gem is what it is, that people don't even realize that they're here, and then they discover it. Because of our location, we're off all the major tollways. We're right on the train line from the city. It's one of those things where people could literally take the train from the city, go to dinner, visit, and people just don't even know. It's like we're yet to be discovered. We're right by the Arboretum, which is a huge draw. But it's been great. Like, I'm a commissioner on the Economic Development Board now, and Autumn to Special Events Committee, and we do Lights of Lisle, which is our Christmas thing. So it's really changed. You really have to get involved now, the way brick and mortar has evolved, to really be, so that you, instead of every shop owner against each other, it really has to be a cohesive community.
Oh, I agree. And, you know, I think that a lot of people have the misconception about brick and mortars. They think that that's just a dying thing. But as we were talking about earlier, I think because the majority of us shop online so much, you get a new appreciation for the actual experience of going to the little shops. You know, I would prefer to go to a little shop than a Walmart. Okay. I would much rather, you know, have that. So tell me about the types of things you're selling and the way you got started, because I know my story is probably different than yours when I had a brick and mortar.
Right. Because of the accessibility now of people can get anything they want online at any time, you really have to kind of transform the experience of having a brick and mortar to be the experience of shopping, the experience of going out. And you're really more, it used to be brick and mortars where people discovered things. Really, there's still that discovery point, but really you're more a curator. Because there's so much choice, people need to know, have it kind of narrowed for them to almost just select, to where it's a selection of things, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So they come in and they get the experience of your style, and you've hunt and found these goods that are really unique to, you know, that they may not even stumble across otherwise.
And you can also teach them in using it.
Right. And for us, it's about having a lot of local artists come in and be able to sell their things. We do a lot of pop-up shops with local artists and handmade makers, cool. So people can discover them. So it's really, and they support you and then you support them.
Right.
So it's really more of a symbiotic relationship, you know, now, as opposed to just like get the stuff in the door, sell it, and send it out.
Right. I know that when I first started my shop, I thought, oh my God, I don't have all this extra money for furniture and everything. But I did know this really awesome group of ladies that had their own business upcycling furniture. And, you know, so I made deals with them where they brought in all the furniture and it was for sale. I mean, and then that way it was a consignment deal. So it wasn't cash out of my pocket, but it filled my space and it looked so cool.
Right.
You know, because it was unique, one of a kind, and things changed all the time. And that was really nice too. So, right. Yeah.
And that was one thing for us. You know, I had the background I'd done various antique mall booths and small stores and consigning to boutiques. So I had a very extensive background in consignment to know, like, it's a win-win for the shop owner and for the artist. Even though I do say as a shop owner, it's a little bit of a bookkeeping nightmare, as you probably remember, just to like, but it's really worth it for everyone. It's worth that to be able to get the goods in your store, to experience the unique artists and that have beautiful things. And so, and be able to introduce them as well.
Yes, yes, that's so important. And I mean, I can totally see there's so much opportunity with every town having different people in it, so you could put together different experiences.
Oh, yeah.
And no two are ever going to be the same. I mean, that's just awesome. It's
Right.
not like you're going, oh, I go to the collective and, you know, it's not like Walmart where, oh, I went to, you know, yeah, I'm going to expect to see these same things at Walmart. Whereas you go to the collective or a different boutique the next town over, it's going to be totally different. And that's the beauty of it.
Right. Well, and the nice thing for us is because we also have a makery where we host creative classes and girls can get together and have a good evening out, or you can book a private class. We also have a lot of our handmade makers who can also teach classes and workshops. So we're able to also kind of bring them in that way. So they might sell their goods and then they can also teach what they do, which is really nice relationship.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So you're happy with your decision then, huh?
I am. It is a lot. I don't think people realize, because, you know, I was blogging before. I was working from home. I was working all day long, but there's the flexibility of being at home, especially with the kids. Luckily, mine are a little older. They're high school age and things, and junior high, but it's a lot of time away from home. There's a lot of hours you're still working at home when you get home. And when you're the boss, as Autumn and I have found out, you know, there's a lot of tag teaming back and forth and a lot of just figuring out logistics of, we're here this many hours, you know, we're here a lot. It's a lot of, you know, you're working 12-hour days, you know, especially when you have events or things going on. It's just a lot of time here. And then a lot of time you're still thinking about it at home.
Yes.
You know, and just product research, you know, Autumn does a lot of that, and finding makers and developing classes. And really when you run a makery and a retail store, you're almost running like two businesses.
Exactly.
You know, and I'm also doing interior design through here. And we're now designing our own product. So
awesome.
That's another thing, you know, we have our own product coming in now that you can only get here. So there's a lot of that going on as well, trying to make all the wheels work at one time.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I ended up doing, is designing my own product. And I didn't even set out to do that. It just kind of evolved. You know, you get a couple ideas, you start making something and go, hey, I could really make this into my own product, you know, and then the wheels start going and you're like, before you know it, you've got an entire product line and, you know.
Right. And for me, I have a little bit of experience because I have some licensing contracts.
Right.
So for me, it was like, well, I'm already doing this for other people and they're taking a huge cut of it. Why are we not, if I have this background, why are we not doing it for ourselves? I mean, that's the thing I think you learn about a brick and mortar. Yeah. You literally come with this toolbox and you need to just start pulling out every tool you have.
Exactly.
And apply it, you know, and don't be afraid to, like I'm doing our website right now. Like, don't be afraid to learn and to wear another hat, but learn a new skill because it's going to save you money. And there are times when you should be farming out certain things you're just not good at, but there's also nothing wrong with you giving it a shot first, you know, especially in a small business setting.
Absolutely. And you know, that I think that's the part that I thrived on, was that you could pull everything out of the toolbox and just dive in. And like you said, and, you know, I remember thinking those exact same things with, you know, the developing your own product line. It was like, oh my gosh, it's such a win-win, no brainer. You know, I mean, it makes total sense when you have your own brick and mortar, for sure.
Right. And then just, you know, the other thing is getting very savvy with social media as a brick and mortar. You know, I don't think a lot of brick and mortar owners realize that you can't just open your doors and expect people to walk in.
No.
You know, I've talked about, we're in a small, so I know one thing you and I have talked about, we don't have a lot of walk by traffic. Our town is not developed yet where there's a ton of foot traffic. So we really have to create our foot traffic on a daily basis. So you have to be very busy on social media, because if you're not in people's faces all the time, they will forget about you. And so you just have to constantly create that momentum.
Oh yeah. And so really, the scrapbook store that my shop was next to, it really was off the beaten path. It wasn't like right downtown. So they always had to make it a destination. you know, and that sounds like what you're having to do is you
Mm-hmm.
have to make it a destination where people are going to go, oh my gosh, let's have a girls' day out and go down to the Collective and, you know, see what we can play with.
Right. You know, and they'll hit a restaurant. So a lot, and we do try to, like, we have a couple really great restaurants down here. So we really try to, if they come into us first, like, hey, going to lunch, go to this restaurant, or if they've come from a restaurant, you know, hey, what are you guys doing? And then we'll be like, well, have you visited the shop up the block? So that's the other thing small business owners really need to collaborate on is constantly referring that next sell. Once they're done at your location, they're checking out, make suggestions. Hey, have you been here? Have you been here? So you're also helping other business owners on your same street because there is that power of collaboration.
Yeah. And what we used to do a lot too is they used to have events where they would have bus tours.
Oh, nice.
And you probably, I don't know if you do that, but so she would get, and this works for the scrapbook stores, it works for the quilters. So I know now that it's going to work for ones that are makers, is they would get together with maybe 2 other businesses. So there'd be like, say, 3 businesses. As a matter of fact, I went on one because I had a host of the bus group of ladies, and there was, you know, maybe 50 women on this bus. And so they would get on there and they'd stop at one of the shops. They would do a free make and take. They would have maybe some food out for them.
Yeah.
Then they would stop, you know, and have lunch at one of them. We did do one in Illinois. I just can't remember what the location was right now off the top of my head, but it was really nice way. And the women really love it because they don't have to think about driving. You can take them someplace that's maybe a little bit further that they wouldn't normally go to. And you can really create that whole experience, have raffles on the bus and all of that type of stuff. You know, they'd get back at the end of the day and you break open wine for them. You know, they loved it.
Yeah, and it's about that creating the experience now, because that's the one thing they cannot get shopping at Amazon.
No.
Is that experience of holding something, smelling a candle, feeling the clothes. You know, that's what you're doing, is you're curating that experience.
Yeah. I think it's wonderful that you're doing it. I'm so glad because I'm a huge believer in the revitalization, if you will, of the towns with shops exactly like yours. And you're doing it right by including all those other shop owners in your area. So
yeah, you have to, and you have to be willing to support each other. It used to be, I think, shops would be in competition with each other.
Yeah.
You can't, you just have to be willing to lift each other up and pretend your town is this cohesive unit.
Right.
You know, as opposed, and that it's not you against the other shop owners. It's you and the shop owners against everybody else.
Right. So that is awesome. I'm so happy for you. And so what, do you have any upcoming events with this spring?
So we're going to have a Bloomin' on Main event, which is, I believe, Thursday, May 2nd. I should check the date, but it's right around but you know, here's the thing, it's always on our social media, the dates. But one thing we do have coming up this next weekend is going to be, we're actually starting to do workshop weekends where it's entire workshops.
Oh, nice.
So probably this will be passed by the time we're doing a Santo style class workshop weekend, but we'll have another one then more towards September. We had Danielle Donaldson last year. She did a whole watercolor workshop weekend. So
I heard that.
Yeah. So it's a great way. So we have those coming up twice a year. And then we just always have workshops people can sign up for and come visit. We're going to be at Urban Farm Girl in, it's not in Rockford this year, it's been moved, but.
Oh, did they?
She did. She moved to the fairgrounds. So I can't remember the name of the town, but we're going to be at Urban Farm Girl for spring. So we just have a bunch of stuff we're just going to be doing, but they can always check our social media for any of the events.
That is awesome. Thank you so much, Jen. I think you've inspired people and given them a really good view of what today's brick and mortar looks like. So I thank you for that.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yep.